Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is your tutor doctor from DB Tuitions. In this video, we are continuing our 8-part series of Paper 1 Biology Triple Science Higher for June 2024, and we are going to do question 4 walkthrough. Now, this question is all about plant tissues, xylem, phloem, and also a 5-mark explanation on sugar transport. And I can tell you very confidently, many students drop marks here, not because it was hard, but because they did not write the answers the way the mark scheme expects them to. So we're going to go part by part. I will show you exact examiner wording and how many points are you going to write. And I'll give you some memory tricks along the way so that you never forget these again. If you have not subscribed to my channel, head to YouTube. The channel name is dbtuition09. Please subscribe, do like the videos if you like my explanation, and share with your friends. Now, what's important is I noticed that many of you are saving the videos, but it's important you revisit them and solve them along with me. That's why I'm not going to do a 2-hour video of the entire paper. I have rather split them into chunks so that you can do question by question. And no video is going to be longer than 20 minutes. That's my promise. Let's head to the question now. As always, I say look at the amount of marks. It's a 3-marker, and as you can see, it says complete the sentences, and it gives you certain information. Plants contain many different tissues, so definitely this is going to be plant tissues, and you should know this is about tissues, not about cells. Now let's have a look. Complete the sentences. The leaf tissue that contains the most chloroplast. If there are most chloroplast, it means packed. A tissue of a plant cell which is packed is palisade mesophyll. So palisade mesophyll has the most amount of chloroplasts. Now, the leaf tissue that contains many air spaces. You know, whenever you think of any object with air spaces, the first thing which comes to your mind is sponge. And this is indeed the spongy mesophyll. That's the kind of tissue. Progressing on to the next one, the plant tissue that can differentiate throughout the life of the plant. So it's like the stem cell, but plant version. It is the meristem tissue. Now, as you can see, this is a pure recall question. There is no explanation, there's no reasoning. So once again, remember the leaf tissue with the most amount of chloroplast is the palisade mesophyll. It is packed tightly near the top of the leaf to absorb light. So just under your waxy cuticle, you've got your upper epidermis, and then you've got your palisade mesophyll packed with the chloroplast. And then you find many air spaces, spongy mesophyll. Now, why do we have air pockets in spongy mesophyll? Because it allows gases such as carbon dioxide and oxygen to move freely in and out of the leaf. And plant tissue can differentiate throughout its life, and the name of that tissue is meristem. And remember, meristem is found in root and shoot tips. This is not part of the answer. I'm just writing it down so that you can memorize where it is. Okay, that's great. Now let's progress on to question number 4.2. So let's look at this. The answer, the expected marks are only 1 mark, so I'm not going to write more than 1 sentence or a couple of words for this. So xylem tissue transports water through a plant. The walls of xylem cells contain cellulose. Name one other substance that strengthens xylem tissue. Now, many students kind of think, oh my God, the word itself is complicated, xylem. I know it sounds a bit weird, fams, but as in our body, we have blood vessels to transport substances from from one place to the other, plants also do have vessels. They just don't contain blood. So one of them is xylem and the other is phloem, which we will look at in 4.3. Now, xylem has strict rules. Xylem vessels transport water under tension. If their walls had only cellulose, like other cell walls of plant cells, they will collapse. So therefore, we need strength in the walls of xylem. And the answer, the substance which strengthens the xylem tissue is lignin. It makes the wall thick, waterproof, and rigid. So the way I want to give you a memory tip here, lignin is line hardening. So it keeps the xylem tubes open. Many students I have seen as an examiner write calcium or cellulose. They will not get you any marks. It's only one word, lignin, which is the correct answer. Well done if you got that right already. Let's move on to 4.3. Now again, it's a 1 marker question, so I'm not expected to write more than one word or a maximum of a sentence. Now here we are talking about phloem tissue. It transports dissolved sugars around the plant. Name the process that transports dissolved sugars around the plant. Now, there are 2 kinds of vessels in every plant, xylem and phloem. Remember, xylem is a dead hollow tube. It's just a water pipe. It only carries water in it, and unidirectional from the roots to the leaves of the plant, only in one direction, as opposed to phloem. So phloem can move and carry substances. I mean, phloem doesn't move in itself, but it is able to transport substances in any direction. The majority of them are dissolved sugars within the phloem, which are moving around. So sugars made in the leaves by photosynthesis are transported through the phloem by a process called translocation. Once again, the name of the process is called translocation. Now, there are 2 keywords which you're going to learn in plant tissues: translocation and transpiration. Don't worry about transpiration for now. We will speak when we get to that. Don't confuse the 2. So, now, many students also confuse moving of substances with diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. No. In plants, moving the dissolved sugars by phloem, the process is known as translocation. Now, we will speak about diffusion, osmosis, and active transport in the questions as they come, but for now, if phloem tissue is moving the dissolved sugars around a plant, that process itself is called translocation. Now let's move on to the next question. So I want to kind of give you a bit of a disclaimer here. So question 4.4 is referring to figure 3. Because of a copyright issue by AQA, they have not given that figure in any of the question papers, as in past papers on any of the websites. So what I've done is I've got a close match to the description of that figure, which will help you understand the question and the answer. So it says name part Y in figure 3. So I'm just giving you, it's a close match, it's not the exact one. So what you can see here, phloem has got companion cells. You can see all of these are phloem. So the ones I've got the red lines around. And as a companion, as your mate is always along with you, attached to phloem vessel are companion cells, which are labeled X in this figure. And as well as there's something labeled which is Y here. And question 4.4 says name part Y in figure 3. And part Y is a permanent vacuole in the companion cell. Remember, at the end of the day, companion cell is a plant cell. Plant cells do have permanent vacuole. As I told you, this question did cause a lot of confusion as figure 3 was not printed, but AQA is not testing your eyesight, they're just testing your knowledge of plant cells. A large central structure in a plant cell is very typical of a permanent vacuole. Do not confuse that for a nucleus or a mitochondrion. That is permanent vacuole only. Now let's move on to the next question, which is 4.5. Now, this one is a 5 marker. Remember, your 5 markers, your 6 markers, they test your communication, they test your ability to logically present the answer. And also, are you using the keywords and are they used in a logical sequence? Now, let's read the question. The phloem tissue transports sugars to other parts of the plant. The concentration of dissolved sugars in the phloem cell in figure 3 is higher than in cell X. Explain how subcellular structures help to move dissolved sugars from cell X into the phloem cell. Now, this is about transporting of sugars in the process translocation. So before going ahead, I want you to look at this figure. I'm going to mark the phloem vessel with P here. Can you see that? You can see the phloem vessel with P. So phloem is the one which is transporting the dissolved sugars. So obviously it is going to be having higher concentrations of the dissolved sugar. But still, the companion cell is transporting sugars. So as you read the question, it says cell X, right, is transporting the sugars from cell X into the phloem, even though the concentration of sugar is low in cell X as compared to phloem. So the logical order in this, in which we are going to give them 5 points. Let's have a look at it. What are the 5 points? So the point number 1. The point number 1, that is going to be higher sugar concentration. And we have that in phloem. Yeah. Then we talk about how the sugar is moving against the concentration gradient. Now, this is a very important phrase, and I want you guys to make sure you use that in the exam whenever you are describing active transport, because active transport is where the substance will be transported from areas of lower concentration to areas of higher concentration. In this case, the sugars are moving against the concentration gradient via the membrane transport proteins. Or you can just say that they're being transported from cell X into phloem against the concentration gradient. And because this is against the concentration gradient, energy is required. This is very important, my fams, and the energy required is supplied by the mitochondria, and that's very important because that's where aerobic respiration takes place and the cell is able to manufacture the required energy. And that will also tell you, if you have a look at this, the companion cells are very closely working with the phloem vessels. In xylem, it is a passive process wherein osmosis is happening. Water is going from the ground, from the roots. Obviously, whenever we are doing gardening, we are watering the roots. So the water from the roots is being transported from an area of high concentration to the leaves, to the area of lower concentration, and in one direction, and that's where xylem is taking only water. But whereas, if you kind of compare it with phloem, phloem can transport dissolved sugars and other nutrients in any direction. And it is against the concentration gradient, so therefore it is using the energy which is manufactured by the companion cell. And as you can see in the figure, companion cell also has a lot of mitochondria. That's where the energy required for this process is manufactured. Now this is a classic 5-mark biology explanation question. Once again, sugars move from the cell X into the phloem even though the concentration of sugars in the phloem is already higher. This means sugars are moving against the concentration gradient, so diffusion cannot be your answer. Instead, sugars are moved by active transport through the carrier proteins in the cell membrane. Active transport requires energy, and this energy is supplied by the mitochondria during respiration. And I hope everyone it's clear your 5-marker. Now let's move on to question 4.6. Now this is of again 1 mark. Now what does 4.6 say? New phloem cells form when unspecialized plant cells differentiate and become specialized. Describe one change in structure that occurs when an unspecialized cell differentiates to form a phloem cell. So there are quite a few acceptable answers. So we have to give specific features which only phloem cell has. So it's very important. For example, loss of nucleus here, right? And the next one is thin cell wall, which is very specific to phloem. And the next one you can write is formation of seed plates. These seed plates act like filters and they are a specific feature of phloem. Now remember, this is a 1-mark question. I gave you 3 options to write as answers so that this is your revision, but you're required to write one clear structural change. For example, you can just say after phloem cells lose their nucleus to allow sugars to move more easily. Is that making sense? Do not list multiple answers. For example, if you write a right answer and a wrong answer, it will still be considered as a wrong answer. Your right answer will not be accepted, right? So here we come to the end of the video. That's question 4 fully broken down exactly as the examiners from AQA expect. If you master this question, remember you've easily secured marks in plant biology, especially the 5-marker on the phloem transport. This is a very regular question in AQA. If this explanation has helped you, make sure you subscribe to DB Tuitions because this is part of our 8-part series question by question for Paper 1 June 2024 Triple Science Biology. It is designed for students who aim to score a grade 7 to 9. In the next video, we will move on to the next question and continue breaking this paper down the smart way. And until then, take care. Bye-bye.